Hello, welcome to CLSB Politics. Sean Briscoe speaking. So there's a new thing that everyone's talking about. It's called relational voting programs. They're using these. It's called RVP. It's it's something that I truly do believe in. But somebody was kind enough in some consulting firm to rebrand it. But thought we'd talk about that today because I think this is the kind of stuff that's going to help push 2026, 2028, and just get the ball rolling. It's been popping up on a lot of articles I've been reading, and a lot of people are talking about it. So I thought that it'd be something that you guys might want to learn about. So the whole point of RBP is to increase voting turnout, period. Just like every other strategy for every other campaign, that's its job. It's supposed to teach voters how to engage fellow less frequent voters. So people who, like, for example, walking to 2026, we want the voters that vote in presidential cycles to show up in 26. It allows you to, it's kind of a way of developing customized toolkits for voter engagement. Is this a new idea? Absolutely not. I'll be honest. Back in Obama 07, 08, this is what we did. We called it the Feet in the Street program, but it was RVP almost back to from one end to the other. 100% RVP. This is not a new idea, but it is an idea that works. And talk about me professionally, I've been laughed out of the room when I have pushed this kind of idea, this kind of agenda, or strategy for a campaign to operate from, which, honestly, the last decade and a half, I always go, well, wouldn't it be cool if we did this? And I'm like, oh, that never works. Well, this is everything. Everyone's just talking about this now, which makes me happy, warms my heart, because this is literally the stuff that I think works. How we did it in 08. We had precinct captains. So first things first, well, I can speak to Dallas specifically. We broke up the county into its state house seats. And there were 15 of them. And each state house seat had about somewhere between 65 and 90,000 registered voters. And then from there we would go and we would break those down, and of course into their precincts. So we'd have someone operating at the state house level, and then we go to the precinct level, and then inside the precinct level, the committee would basically be made up of block captains, and then you would have your street captains, which weren't always available. Sometimes your block captain or your precinct captain was what was available, but sometimes you could get down to the minutia of street by street, and people who just said, I'll tell you what, is it these 18 houses? I got it. We'll give you 25 door hangers just to make sure you have enough. And then you'd go out and you'd knock on doors. We'd provide kits, precinct captain kits at a field program. This was, of course, back in analog. It's all digital now with cell phones, but back in the day, it was folders with paper in them. and somebody had to organize all that. And it was definitely me. And my poor volunteers that I roped into it. So it'd be an analog field program, a script for the door. Basically, it's what questions we were most interested in. And the field program was designed, each page of the field program was one house. And you have all the registered voters in that house, and their ages and their genders. And then below that was basically a worksheet that people would just fill out. It was very rudimentary. Data entry was just a nightmare, but I'll tell you, it worked. And so we'd have the field program, the script, stickers, yard signs, door hangers, an event checklist. So, like, let's say you want to do a house party, or a meet and greet of some kind with your state house rep, or what have you. Well, I'll be honest, I operate from checklists, because when you're rocking and rolling like 4 or 5 different programs all at the same time, checklist, I mean, that works for anything in anyone's life, I guess. But I find checklists are very helpful. And just having them, some stuff you'll never think of, like I've never even thought to have name tags. Hello, my name is, sign-in sheets, very important. So you can collect emails and cell phone numbers. And then I would also provide in this kit a CD, because that's where we were. I would burn the voter reg for their precinct and or state house district, usually state house. Then I would burn a bunch of CDs for precincts. Now we would just use flash drives, but back then we used CDs. And that would be an Excel spreadsheet, and it would have all this other stuff on there as well. So you could just hit print, and you could print out your field program. Sometimes we'd have it already made for, usually we'd already have it printed, but I have a backup version that they could just print. They could print out sign-in sheets. I had all of the name tags formatted, so I could show them which name tags to buy at the, if we didn't provide them, which sometimes we did. You could go to Office Depot and just buy the right one, stick it in your printer, pops right out, perfect. And it would all be on that CD, and you would have a spreadsheet you could download from the CD, and then you would do your data entry on that. And if it was your precinct, you just, it's all sorted by road, then road number. Or road number, then road. That's how you do it. So that way it shows up in alphabetical order by road and in numeric order. And then you would just go in and fill in the blanks. And then you would email that spreadsheet to me or one of my compatriots, and then we would digest that data. It worked brilliantly. And it was just a matter of organizing and getting those tools together so those individuals could actually get the work done. We had a couple of interesting programs. We had Adopt a Precinct program. So let's say, listen, not every precinct has a precinct chair. So if if we had a precinct chair that was hardworking and engaged, we would basically give them the precinct next door, and say, hey, here's another CD. You rock and rolled yours. Are you down for picking up one? And not everyone was down, but it's at this point that I normally tell my favorite story from 08. No, one of my favorites. There were these 4 little old ladies in north central Dallas County. And they would go on there, what they called their constitutionals. I swear to God, these women were 60s and 70s. And they would go for the 4 of them would get together and they go for their walk. And they loved Obama. Oh my God. And so we would, I would let them, I would hook them up, and I would give them the field program kit I just gave you. Well, they went out for their constitutional 4 or 5 days a week. So after a couple of weeks, they were done with their precinct easily. And then they'd just pair off and take one side of the street, and they would do like a couple streets, and then the next day do a couple different streets. And, they were out walking anyway. So they would just do that. And then they go back, well, we're done. And they'd hand in their paperwork, and I'd be like, Jesus, would you like another one? And they went and did that one. By the end of the campaign, those 4 little old ladies did 4 precincts by themselves. I believe they were such rock stars that the candidates running for state house in North Dallas 1,000 years ago walked with them on occasion, because, people open doors to little old ladies. That's just what happens. Know your market, and plus they knew their neighbors. They've been in that neighborhood forever. Anyway, that's one of my favorite stories. But we would have house parties. We had neighbor-to-neighbor direct contact. I say this all the time. One of the most powerful things you can say is, "Hello, I am your neighbor," when you're knocking on doors. I've said this before in other shows. It's true. And you knock on that door, and you're like, "Hello, I'm your neighbor." Your kids probably go to the same school or did go to the same school. You guys all shop at the same grocery store. You'd just be surprised. You're a part of a community, and you're engaged with that community. So it's really an amazing thing, and it works brilliantly. People will remember you. I've had my door knocked on because I vote in everything, but I'll tell you, the first judicial that knocks on my door probably has my vote. Because, who knows judicials? At least I met that person, So, right? They're the ones I'm like, well, and then I'll tell you, the next time she ran, I voted for her again because I've talked to her. It's a big deal. People like talking to the candidates. And And then then you get your neighbors together, you do an early voting push and an election day push. Um, uh, so what did we do with all that work? We had house parties, and we had reunions for the '08 campaign. And I mean, you understand that campaign was 18 months long. I mean, I think the vast majority of my groomsmen at my wedding years later were all people I met in Obama's campaign. But the ACA was a huge deal in '09, and we just turned the key because we already had all the emails, had all the phone numbers, had all the contacts for the precinct and the surrounding precincts, and we formed house parties where people could say, like, what's your top 5 things that you would like to fix about healthcare? And then we turned all that information into the White House. Literally, they had a whole program. It was brilliant. Uh, we would help candidates could come to our little house parties and kind of warm up in a friendly environment. 9 times out of 10, we knew the person, so it helped. But they can just do a stump speech in front of a live audience without it deep six in their campaign because they say something weird. It helps. And then, of course, just general grassroots organizing for different issues, if it was like on a ballot or if it was a petition or things of that nature. It just helped kind of get people engaged, and it made it for a streamlined way for people to re-engage. So anyway, that was my quick and dirty. I just thought it was something that kept popping up, and I wanted to share it all with you. It's what's old is new again. It's like the guy who made bell bottoms, and then in the 60s and 70s, and then the mid 90s rolled around, and he's like, I've seen this before. I'm the guy who made bell bottoms, basically. I have seen this before. I have worked it. I'm glad that people are taking it serious. I know it works. I've seen it work, and I'm a true believer in it. So, all right. Well, I hope everyone had a great, it's been a rough week. I know I've got some stuff I'm going to talk about the Trump administration. And I'm probably going to do a show tomorrow or the next day specifically about Wisconsin and what's going on up there. So, all right. Remember, just want to say thanks for watching, like and subscribe. If you wish to support this channel, we have a PayPal account at CLSB Politics. All right. Hope everyone has a good day, and I'll probably see you guys tomorrow.